And so I thought, well, this isn't working. I mean, I look a little bit better, but I feel so much worse. So I quit and I went back to eating just what everybody else was eating.
Matthew, how you doing?
I'm well, sir. Thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Great to have you back. Last time, not the last time we spoke, but the first time we did an interview was August of last year. So, be great to catch up, kind of find out what's going on. So maybe we could split this interview into two parts. Maybe the first
Mhm.
part, for people that haven't seen your original interview, maybe we could talk about how you got to carnivore and what what changed for you when you first started doing it. And then maybe as a second part, we could talk about what's happened since August. How's that
Okay,
sound?
sounds great.
Awesome. Okay,
Okay,
so yeah,
so
how did you get onto carnivore and what changed for you initially?
I originally came to carnivore because I was suffering some ill health effects. Excuse me. So I was definitely overweight, yeah, and that was a concern of mine, but it wasn't my main concern. I didn't feel bad for being overweight as far as I knew. I was just starting to suffer some health effects. Like going up and down stairs was very painful. My knees were starting to, I don't know if they were degenerating in any way, but they were difficult to get to function the way I wanted to. My hips were tight. My muscles were all locked up. My ankles weren't operating the way I would want them to. So going up and down, like I said, was very difficult. It started to get painful just to get in and out of a car. So I open the door, I want to get out, and I have to get motivated and push, and I wasn't that heavy, at least as I didn't think it was. So I didn't think that was the problem. But I didn't really know what the problem was either. So I just started casting about in any direction I really could. And said, well, what's the problem? What's the fix for this? I don't really know what's going on. And at the same time, my hand on the left side started going numb, and it was in my elbow, my wrist, my hand, especially on these fingers on this side, and weakness set in. So I was losing the ability to really pick anything up that was heavy. I gave up doing push-ups or any kind of serious exercise because I couldn't trust that my arms were strong enough to deal with my own body weight. And so that was the state of my body at the time. But worse, the worst of all of it was the debilitating headaches. And I mean debilitating, because every time I would have a severe headache, and any headache would become severe because I would start with a little headache and then it would bloom and I would lose vision and my strength would get entirely sapped. I would end up sometimes in the bed for an entire day or more. My worst headache actually saw me going to the ER, and I thought there was like an exploded vein or something in my head. So they did it wasn't a CAT scan, it was an MRI. They did an MRI and they looked at the main veins in my brain and said, "Nope, everything's clear." The neurologist said, "It's neck stiffness." I said, "Neck stiffness is doing this to me?" I didn't believe that, you know? And I still don't. I still don't believe that it was neck stiffness that led to that particular condition, because it would happen in all kinds of times and ways. And I could be well rested or not rested. I could be hungry. I could be full. I could be outdoors. I could be indoors. It didn't matter. It just would bloom and I'd be in pain. And then they would come in clusters. Sometimes it would attack on the right side and then it would ease off in a day or two and then it would switch to the left or vice versa. And it was really very frustrating, very painful. And so after that, I got on to the YouTube search and I said, I can just look up some of these things and see what's going on with my body. Maybe somebody's got some kind of an idea. And I found all kinds of stuff like pinch that right there and it'll help get a headache to go away. And it doesn't. It doesn't. It will relax you a little bit if you want to give that a good pinch, rub. Might relax you a little bit, but you won't get rid of a severe headache. And rub this, rub that, take this, take that. It doesn't work. It just nothing. And the more pills I would take to try to get rid of the pain, it would dull out the pain, but then the pain would come rushing back just as bad, if not worse. And then you end up in a dependency cycle too. You think, well, ibuprofen, Tylenol, doesn't actually cause dependency, does it? Actually, yes, it does, because every little ache and pain sets your body off eating things, and downward spiral from there. So you end up rushing to the pill bottle for every little pain you get. You know, so I decided I couldn't, live on pain pills, and I certainly couldn't figure out my own body. So I got into the diet space on YouTube and trying to figure out what's going on with me, because there was a time where I went on a fast. Yeah, I went on water only for like 3 days, and for a long period after that, I didn't have any real cravings for anything, and I didn't have a lot of pain either. In fact, most of my joints were very smooth in action, and I didn't have headaches for a long time. It was a couple of months before I had another headache. And I thought, well, that's at least something. But then I can't go about doing 3-day fasts all the time, because that makes people panic around me anyway. You have to eat. You have to eat. You know how it is in Asia. You know, so it's complicated. Anyway, I decided to go a little bit deeper into the space and figure out maybe diet is an issue. And so I started looking into elimination diets, because of all people, it was actually that that magician. I forget his name just now. Penn and Teller. Yeah, he was a real big guy at one time, and now he's lost quite a lot of weight. What he did was called mono dieting, right? And he ate nothing but potatoes for quite some time, and it gave him a reset. Now, I do not advocate eating a bunch of potatoes. It's not a good idea, right? They are the nightshade family, and they are very high in carbohydrates and many other things, lectins and oxalates. It'll wreck your health. Don't just eat potatoes, guys. Right? So I looked into the mono dieting idea, and I thought, well, I mean, if you can get rid of pains and aches, just cutting out everything for 3 days, what else can you do? And then I found Ken Berry, and directly after Ken Berry, I found that but at the time he was more keto based, right? And so I thought, well, keto doesn't sound that bad, but it's rather complicated too. But that was some of his older videos, and when I caught up with his newer stuff, it was all carnivore this and carnivore that. So you can't just eat meat. Can't really do that game. And then I found another guy, Dante from Ferragno Freedom, and this dude absolutely had me sold on it real quick, because I got to see his transformation. And then all I had to do was roll back a little bit in his backlog, and he had some serious health problems that you could see in his videos. Yeah. And then in his newer videos, it wasn't too far removed from that he had his newer videos. So I was catching up. And I was like, well, just from there. And there were huge changes within just a couple of months worth of video. Well, that's very, very impactful. And then I found other friends like Kelly Hogan and Steak and Butter Gal, yeah, Bella, yeah. And all of those guys were pretty fresh and new on the scene, though, so I didn't really know anything about them. But Ferragno, I was really following his journey. And that convinced me to at least start giving it a try. So I did. I tried cutting out most everything except meat. And I think most because that's the case. I didn't cut out everything, and I was not careful and clean. Yeah. And so I did start to improve some. I lost lots of weight just eating one meal a day, and mostly meat. Bit of a caveat there. Not a good idea. Don't do that. So I lost a lot of weight, but I also lost what appears to be quite a lot of my lean mass, because I wasn't eating enough protein to keep it built up. Yeah. And then my pains started to get worse, and I wasn't keeping it clean. So there was a lot of sugars and sauces and stuff, and God only knows what all. And I know that I'm also hypersensitive to certain additives like MSG, right? And that I already knew would set off my headaches, but I didn't know what all the sources were. And here in Indonesia, you don't really get to know. Most of the stuff doesn't really say whether it's got MSG on it, although it may. Sometimes it just says flavors or that kind of, well, who knows, right? So I tried that for some time, and I did lose, like I said, a lot of weight. I lost so much weight that I started to feel weak, and my problems started to get worse. And so I thought, well, this isn't working. I mean, I look a little bit better, but I feel so much worse. So I quit, and I went back to eating just what everybody else was eating, and I was convinced that it just didn't really matter. Unfortunately, that compounded the problem, because then after having cut out everything and then reintroducing it, I have a double whammy because now I have less muscle mass, and then I had been adding in stuff that were more damaging, you know? And so that's when the pain in my arm got intolerable and my headaches became intolerable. And I mean intolerable because that was the time that I ended up in bed. And I didn't go to the hospital on that one, but I ended up in bed for like 2 days. And it was just nuts. And I can't do this anymore. I've got to figure this out and really understand it. I really believe that diet was the clue. That was the real key there. And I said, it's got to be something I'm doing that I'm doing wrong, because I got to look back and see what all these other guys are doing, because this guy over here is ripped, this one is jacked, and this one is losing weight like nobody's business, and they all seem fit. So either they're lying or I'm doing it wrong. So I followed Ferrigno's stuff, especially, more closely. But at the same time, I started watching another wonderful fellow, one of my friends, Dr. Chafee. Yeah. And he answers a lot of questions that are very detailed answers, and you can understand more about what's going on behind the scenes and chemical actions and reactions. And not long after that, I also discovered Bart K. And he is a fantastic resource for trying to understand what's going on chemically and reactively within the human system. So, whoa, this is some new material. It turns out I was just doing it right. You know, I didn't cut out enough, but at the same time, I wasn't eating enough. I couldn't do just one meal a day because I wasn't eating enough in one meal a day. That's how I found carnivore. And then my brother, Mason, got in contact with Dave. See? And he was doing carnivore for a little while. And now he's back on carnivore. Dave, it's awesome. You got to reconnect with him if you can. And because of that connection, I ended up connecting with Dave too. And he introduced me to the carnivore community at large. And that's why I started my channel. So thank you very much for that, Dave.
Yeah, nice. So during that that first phase when you went into carnivore, like let's just say it's like up to August. Then by August, the pain for you had gone, the headaches had gone.
Yeah. By that time, I was in about 3 months of rather strict carnivore eating. And that's exactly what happened. That was a complete turnaround for me. The headaches were gone, sleeplessness, that was gone. I was starting to have acid reflux while I was trying to lay down and sleep. And I didn't even know what that was until I had experienced it. I thought, no way people actually get injured from that. No, people actually die from acid reflux. And I did not know that. So you can drown in stomach fluid and it can kill you. So you gotta take what you eat seriously. I'm sitting here, I'm laying in my bed, and suddenly I feel this, and I'm making this noise. I don't realize I'm the one making the noise, right? And it's just burning in the back of my teeth, in the back of my throat, it's going up the back of my nose. I thought I vomited, but that's just the stomach acid climbing up my throat. And that's just from the stuff that I was eating, But all that went away within the first week. That was gone, and then so many other things, just powerful changes, man. I was able to bend and run. I can run now. I can run up and down stairs. I can do push-ups. They have done 60 in sets of 30. And that was new for me. I can do kicks that I couldn't do in my mid-20s. It's just fantastic.
You had all these improvements. And especially, I mean, the acid reflux going, that must have been just life-changing for you, because if you're lying there trying to sleep at night and it's like it feels like that, you'd be frightened to lie down, you're frightened to go to sleep, right?
Yeah. So while trying to get into bed, I would go to the kitchen and mix me up some baking soda water just to be sure, because I didn't know what I was facing. I didn't know whether that was endemic. I didn't know if it was systemic. I didn't know what it was. I was like, dude, what's going on with my stomach here? I knew it was stomach acid after that first event, but I didn't realize, I'm doing this to me. I thought maybe I'm just getting old and, something's worn out in there, You have these thoughts, and it's hard because the media machine is bent toward making you believe that's what happens to you when you get old,
Yeah, it's just an age thing. Just take some medicine. Just go and see your doctor and get a tablet.
Yeah. You get a tablet
Mm.
for this, and then you get a tablet which is a chaser for that, and then you get a tablet to fix what this one did to you.
So from August until now, what's changed for you? Whether it's something that's directly health related that you could say that's probably something that's caused by carnivore, or maybe it's just something that you've changed about your day to day as a result of some of the previous health improvements you've had with carnivore.
Well, ever since going more strict carnivore, I really haven't had a lot of headaches to deal with. I've had a few, but I would think them mild comparatively. And since August, I haven't had many at all. All right. I've had a few that have made me want to put some ice packs on, or take an ibuprofen to get rid of it, but then I have to function and keep the job up, and so on and so forth. For the most part, though, changes have been really good. Yeah, I've got a lot more lean mass than I used to, even though I've lost quite a lot of weight. So I was about 110 kilograms. And for those of us who don't use kilos, that's about 200 and wish like 40 something ish pounds. So that's 242 if I'm not stupid. Okay, and then I've gone down to my lowest point was 88 kilos, which is about 180 ish something, and that's pretty good drop. Yeah, and that's not the lowest that I want to hit, but it may be about the lowest that I can hit for right now. However, I've dropped 2 pant sizes. I'm down to a 36 now, so that's pretty good. And uh, those are starting to get loose on me, so I know that there are still changes. But this time around, my strength hasn't fallen yet, and that's fantastic. Yeah, like that. I can do a lot more push-ups now. I don't really have to work out hard to maintain physique. Yeah, it's just building and building. I've lost a lot more of the rolls around my stomach and lower abs. That's actually starting to cut in pretty good. And it's not quite Dave level yet, but it'll get there. Yeah. So that's what's going on with me right now. Yeah.
Nice. And thinking about, just how you go about your day, has anything changed in the way you work or your relationships at work or anything like that?
Well, I'd say my relationships are probably about the same. Yeah. Most people know now that I eat mostly meat. If anything at all, I'm going to eat meat. Right. And so that's not like an issue with anybody that I work with, or it doesn't really cause any friction or anything. Relationships with people haven't really changed terribly much. Yeah, I may be a little bit more patient with people. I don't get as frustrated in day-to-day tasks and with people around me. And in a pinch, I can probably focus and make quicker decisions. And if something's going wrong, I don't get frustrated with that particular moment as easily. I still need to get rid of the coffee though, I think, because that may be an issue that I still need to get rid of that. I don't really know. I did do an experiment with that, and I think that I had a better recovery when I wasn't drinking coffee. So I might still pull that one back and try that again and get rid of that. So I'm going to do some more experimentation with it. Now, one thing that I would warn you though, anybody who's out there in YouTube land listening to this later on, if you go on the carnivore lifestyle and you do so for health purposes, it really behooves you to keep going, because if you don't, then your issues and problems will come back. Now, for example, I'm a great example of that. Now, as I said, I'm mostly 100% carnivore, but not always. So I'm actually maybe between 80 and 90% generally, right? I like to keep it higher than that if I can, but it's not really easy to do around here. However, sometimes people order things or get things that I probably ought to have, but human over here, and I do human things. And I've eaten some chocolates and some things that like wafers and candies that they have around here now and again. Let me tell you, it's not worth it. There are certain things that trigger my system some kind of bad, and that numbness has come back in my hand all the way down to my wrist. Yeah. So this is one of those things that you take to remind you, if you do silly things, your body will let you know that you're doing it wrong, right? And it's clearing, but it takes time, you know. So you can eat something and you think, oh, this is sweet or this is yum, 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 and it's gone. No, no, it's staying with you. It's going to stay with you for some time, maybe days, maybe weeks. Yeah. And that's the situation that we all find ourselves in. These things pop up. There's a problem here, there's a fire there, there's inflammation here and there. You don't know what the source is. You cut it all out, and you have to hold on for some time before you can figure out whether or not that it's actually going to go away. Yeah. So that's something I would remind all of us that are in the carnivore space or any dieting space. Yeah. When you change your diet, you're gonna have to hold on to that diet for some time to be sure that it's actually doing any good for you and for that benefit. It's not going to just happen overnight.
I'd like to kind of just talk a little bit about your eating and like how you eat. But a question before that. I think the last time we spoke, you were the only person in your household who was doing carnivore. Has that
Mhm.
changed?
No, my
Have you
wife has
had
gone
any
lower
influence?
carb
Ah,
uh,
okay.
to
Oh,
an
nice.
extent. My wife has reduced her carbohydrate uptake and she's trying to eat more protein. So it is shifting, but it's taken some time because we do a food service, and so she has to taste what she's cooking and stuff, and so she's still kind of on the carb, but it's not like she's going into it as much as she used to. And I still eat a lot of eggs and chicken and beef and such as the like. But around here, you order something out and it comes mixed with, say, flour or whatever they mix it with. And like I had some matabat, which is a kind of an egg. It's like egg and meat and some stuff that they kind of fry and then fold into itself, and it's like layered. I don't even know how to explain that in a way that somebody who's an English speaker is really going to get it. But it's just something they just fold into itself, into itself, into itself, and then they cut it into squares, and it's crispy and it tastes like an egg. But who knows what all they put in it to make it hold that shape and stay crispy? It could be a little bit of flour in there for all I know. But then my wife also cooks fried chicken. So we have the fried chicken. It's kind of like a KFC type chicken. And I eat that. Sometimes I peel the skin off of it. Sometimes I don't. So I don't know. I'm estimating anywhere between, say, 90 and 99% carnivore still. But my son sometimes will tell me, Daddy, help me go carnivore. I'm like, well, I'll help you out with that. You got to actually stick with it. And he goes, okay. And then maybe someday. I don't know.
How old is he?
He's 15 now.
But it's a difficult age, right? Because when you're with your friends and stuff, it's hard to go, well, I'm just eating meat or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's not easy, especially in that age group, because he's got so many activities and school and classwork and friends and get-togethers, and so that's not going to stick strong to that. But there is an example that he has to look forward to, and I'm hoping that he ends up following along with that example before his body ends up in a bad condition. So it's not a good thing. You'd think, well, you're the parent, just don't buy the stuff, right? Kids of that age group, they have their own money and their own time and their own spaces, and they get stuff.
Mm. And in practice, even when they're young, it's just not quite that easy when they're being influenced by their friends and stuff as well.
And
Yeah.
social situations, their friend groups, their siblings, all kinds of stuff's going on. Also extended family, because if we're going to go out or if there's a birthday party.
Yeah, understood. So you're doing 2 meals a day now?
I do 2 or 3. It just depends on how
Uh-huh.
hungry I am or how much meat I can pack in at the one time. So right now, I usually eat at about 9:30 or 12 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood, and that's where I usually eat my first meal. And then I may eat again after I get home from school, or on other occasions, I just don't. I just try to pack in everything at one time. You can do it if you know eat enough, but it's hard to gauge what you're actually going to need within a day if you eat only one meal.
Yeah, I think it's important to just be responsive, as you say. Like, if you feel hungry, just eat, right?
Mm, yeah,
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
I had
that's the
I had
case.
one of those days yesterday. Like normally I'm one meal a day, but like last night I was just like, yeah, I'll go another pound of beef, and so yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that may make an impact on whether or not I could hold out like that if I was eating strictly beef, but I'm not. Oftentimes we're eating fish or chicken or eggs, and that's our main protein because it's a lot cheaper and it's more readily available. So that's usually what we focus on for our proteins. Although I don't know that that's the best option. I mean, I really don't have much to compare it to.
You've been pretty active on YouTube since we spoke in August. So,
I try.
can you talk about your channel, what kind of things you've been doing on your channel, how we can find you, and what kind of stuff you got coming up?
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So on my channel, I do long form content and some short form content. I've done a few shorts. I've tried some comedy. I'd like to maybe be able to do some more of those if I can, but it's just the writing of the comedy ones is actually tough because you got to figure out what's the hitch. I mean, how is it funny to other people and not just you, right? Like my what was that bold carnivore attacking the beef thing? That was funny. The Walking Fed, I did that one. That was pretty good. But I have long form content with my friends Dave and some with Dr. JP. I recently did an interview with Sally K. Norton, the writer of Toxic Superfoods. That was a fantastic meetup. And we have a tentative agreement to do some more on that. I have a full book review that I'm going to do on that. That is a fantastic book. If you guys haven't read that one, I can definitely suggest it. Yeah. Um, Not paid endorsement. I mean, it's just really that good. And it's written for the layman. Yeah, she's very skilled. She knows what she's talking about, but she didn't write it as an academic piece. It's written so that anyone and everyone can understand it. Now, some people I have seen online criticizing that for not being academic enough. Got to remember that is written for the basic average Joe. Going out there in the shopping market and going, "What do I eat that won't kill me?" So there you go. And yeah, that's what I've got going on right now. And then I do my lives too. So I have a couple of lives where I just sit down and jaw for no reason. And I have some conspiracy threads that we've done with some of the guys. We got Sean from Carb Trucker and Mike from Mike TV. Uh, we haven't been very active in that because everybody's got their own thing going on, but we want to do more of those. And we've got a few live meetups with just me and Sean from Carnivore Trucker. And we also have some soft agreements to do more of those. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's a lot of fun. Oh my goodness. Right now, what I've got coming up is mostly stuff in my backlog because I have several meetups that I have not had a chance to push out. So for anybody who is on my backlog, I'm so sorry if I haven't gotten to you yet. I certainly will.
That's great that you got so many in the pipeline coming up. That's some so and where can we find you? If we go to YouTube, what do we need to type in to find you?
Oh yeah, just type in @bold carnivore and I will pop up. I'm like the only one out there on YouTube running that moniker, so I'm certainly available on that. I'm also available on the same handle on Instagram if you want to find me. I have a Facebook page under the same channel name too, so that's where you can get me.
Awesome. Awesome. Matthew, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing an update with us. And it's great. It's great that, you're continuing with this and you're more and more active on YouTube as well. So fantastic to see you again.
Well, thank you for having me on and thank you for introducing me to the community.